Teal, captured. The hidden traitors inside. Ibrahim Traoré's inner circle exposed. As the dawn casts a golden glow over the capital Ouagadougou, the presidential palace seems to remain silent, as if concealing the undercurrents that quietly churn beneath its tranquil exterior. In the long, cold marble hallways, footsteps follow one another, some smiling, some bowing, all as if they are forming a perfect play. A play that the central character, Ibrahim Traoré, can never let down his guard. He, Burkina Faso's youngest president, stands silently by the wide glass windows, his eyes fixed thoughtfully on the outside, where the red-green-yellow national flag flutters against the deep blue sky. Since taking power in those stormy days, he has always known that the enemy is not only outside the border. The most dangerous things often lurk within the inner circle, those who have sworn allegiance, familiar faces who can suddenly strike him dead. A heavy feeling was growing inside him. Something was wrong. It was more than a feeling, it was the result of averted glances, delayed responses, meetings postponed without reason. And when a true leader smells betrayal in the air, he can't ignore it. That day, Ibrahim called an emergency meeting. The people invited were all his most trusted right-hand men. At least, he believed they were. In the large conference room, white lights fell on the long, glass-covered conference table, illuminating every face, every raised eyebrow, every small gesture. The door slammed shut behind the last person who entered. The room was filled with a tense, heavy atmosphere that could be sliced into pieces with a knife. Ibrahim stood up, his gaze sweeping over each of them, slowly, unhurriedly. "Brothers," his voice was deep but ringing like a bell. "We are in a dangerous period. But the danger is not only from our open enemies, but also from those who sit with us, eat with us, but whose hearts are dreaming of selling us out for their own gain." A deadly silence filled the room. No one dared to breathe. Eyes met, confused, anxious, or pretending to be innocent. Ibrahim paused, as if to let his words sink into the blood of each person sitting there. Then he continued, softly but thunderously. "Some of us have betrayed." A soft gasp came from the end of the table. Another stirred slightly, furtively wiping the sweat from his forehead. Ibrahim saw it all, every little detail. No one needed to confess right away. He knew that betrayal never revealed itself easily. But he didn't need a confession, because the evidence had been in his possession for weeks. Not long ago, he recalled, a group of militants had ambushed a convoy transporting secret government documents. The attack was so swift, so precise, that it could only have been an insider's leak. Ibrahim had said nothing to the outside world. He had been quietly investigating. A small group of people absolutely loyal to him had been tasked with keeping a close eye on key figures within the government. And then, a name stood out. A name he didn't want to believe, but the evidence was undeniable. Today, he hadn't come to confront them. He had come to observe their reactions, to see who showed signs of panic first. The room was quiet, with only the ticking of the wall clock adding to the suspense. Ibrahim turned around, walking slowly towards the large map hanging on the wall, where the hot zones of the country were marked with red circles. He pretended to explain the military campaigns, the upcoming plans. But in fact, every glance he gave, every gesture of entrapment, was forcing the traitor into a dead corner. And he saw it. A fearful glance, a forced swallow, an evasive look. There was no mistake. A chill spread through him. Pain because that person had been his comrade in arms, someone he had trusted like a brother. But now, there was no turning back. A traitor, no matter how close they had been, could not be tolerated. The meeting ended. Ibrahim calmly left the room, leaving the restless eyes behind. He did not need to make a decision right there. He had a plan. As the door closed behind him, a steely resolve rose within him. Cleanse. Cut out the festering pus before it ate away at everything he had built. Outside, the sky had turned a pale yellow. A gentle breeze blew through the wide hallway, carrying tiny dust particles like secrets whispered in the darkness. Ibrahim walked, his youthful figure as resolute as an ancient warrior, a king entering battle not with a sword, but with the wisdom, courage, and coldness required of a leader in troubled times. The real war had only just begun. That night, as Ouagadougou was engulfed in a haze of yellow street lamps, a silent plan was being carried out in the presidential palace with the cold precision of a razor blade. Ibrahim sat alone in his office, the desk lamp casting his shadow long against the wall behind him. On the table, top-secret files were spread out like the final pieces of a hideous betrayal puzzle. The traitor, he did not know, had been meticulously recorded in every step, every phone call, every secret transaction of his over the past weeks. His name was Souleymane, a senior officer who had fought alongside Ibrahim since the early days of the resistance. They had shared bowls of rice, rained bullets, saved each other's lives on the fierce battlefield. But greed, the sweetness of empty promises from the enemy, had tainted Souleymane's heart. Ibrahim felt no hatred. He felt only pain, a sharp pain in the marrow of his bones, knowing that his own beliefs had been turned against him. But pain was not allowed to weaken him. He picked up the phone and ordered softly, "It's time." That same night, a surprise meeting was called. The reason given was simple: internal review and national security review. Everyone had to be present. No one was allowed to be absent. When Souleymane received the summons, he was momentarily confused, but he remained calm. Deep down, he believed that his shady connection was secret enough, that no one, not even Ibrahim, could trace it. He was wrong. When everyone was gathered in the large room, the night air thick and heavy as lead, Ibrahim entered. No entourage, no formal uniform, just the simple military uniform he had worn as a common soldier. He walked to the center of the room. His calm gaze swept over each face. "Brothers," he began, his voice steady, but with an irresistible weight, "I will not be long-winded. Among us, there is a traitor." The room fell silent. Some glanced anxiously at each other. Others looked down in confusion. Ibrahim did not let the panic spread. He raised his hand. An officer entered, carrying a thick file, and placed it before him. No one spoke. Ibrahim opened the file, taking out each photo-secret meetings, photos of document transfers in the dark, snippets of conversations extracted from audio recordings. Each image, each piece of evidence, was projected onto the large screen behind him. And, in all of them, Souleymane appeared, clear as day. The room held its breath. Souleymane stiffened. Sweat broke out on his forehead. Eyes darted for an escape route. But all exits were blocked by the determined gazes of Ibrahim's loyal guards. Ibrahim did not shout. He did not make any loud accusations. He just stood there, looking straight at Souleymane, that gaze, calm and cold, as if he had buried his old friend long ago. "Souleymane," he called out, his voice low, like thunder echoing in the ground. "What else do you have to say?" Souleymane trembled. He opened his mouth to argue, but the words stuck in his throat. Faced with irrefutable evidence, he was like a man tied to a post, with no way out. Every eye in the room was on him. None of his comrades looked at him with friendly eyes, no sympathy, only cold contempt. Souleymane fell to his knees, like a man whose soul had been drained. Forgive me," he stammered. Ibrahim closed his eyes for a brief moment, as if praying for the soul of a long-dead brother in his heart. When he opened them again, his gaze was cold steel. "Forgiveness? When you betrayed your comrades who risked their lives for you? When you helped those who wanted to trample this country in exchange for silver and gold?" His voice was not loud, but each word was like a knife cutting into the heart. The whole room fell into a terrible silence. Ibrahim signaled to the guards. Souleymane was pulled to his feet, shackled in place. He did not resist. He knew. It was all over. Ibrahim turned around, facing everyone else in the room. Freedom does not come from betrayal. Sovereignty does not come from greed. Whoever follows me must understand. Here, there is only one path: loyalty to the country or its enemy. End. In media tend. End. All. Those words seem to be engraved in the hearts of each person. In the eyes of the remaining people, for the first time in many months, doubt disappeared, giving way to absolute trust. Not only because of Ibrahim's determination, but because they had witnessed with their own eyes. Traitors would never have a place under his leadership. That night, when Souleymane was escorted out, the new moon shone on the cold stone steps, clearly illuminating the image of a traitor bowing his head in submission to justice. And deep in the darkness, Ibrahim Traoré stood there, towering like a lonely mountain, protecting the soul of an entire nation yearning for freedom. The next day, news of Souleymane's arrest spread like wildfire through the corridors of power in Ouagadougou. Although Ibrahim had ordered the details to be kept under wraps, in the world of politics, no secret can last long. Rumors began to spread. Who would be next? Who was truly loyal? Who was harboring hidden ambitions? Over tea, in brief meetings in the hallways, every glance, every casual word carried hidden meaning. Ibrahim knew that exposing a traitor, instead of strengthening the inner circle, would inadvertently stir up unease in the hearts of others. And he understood, in that storm of suspicion, someone outside would take the opportunity to strike. And, as expected, just 3 days later, lies began to emerge from the international media that Ibrahim's government was crumbling, that Burkina Faso was in an internal crisis, that the people were wavering. The articles were written in an arrogant, contemptuous tone, as if the Western perspective was the only valid one. They didn't need evidence. They didn't need truth. They just needed to sow doubt so that the real enemy, foreign powers, would have an excuse to intervene in this land once more. For some, these lies were like drops of poison. Some lower-level officials began to waver. Some businessmen were hesitant to withdraw their capital. Armed groups outside the border, listening to the news, also began to prepare for new attacks. Ibrahim sat in the conference room, listening to his advisors present the situation. His eyes calm, but inside a fire was smoldering. He was not angry at the lies. He was used to the lies of this world. What troubled him more was how to protect the young dream that so many Burkina Faso people had shed their blood to build. Weakness, he knew, was not an option. After the meeting, he summoned a group of his most loyal men, not the sycophants of power, but those he had fought alongside on the battlefield. Sunday-tanned faces, eyes that had faced death without blinking. They met in a small room, without cameras, without media. Ibrahim stood among them, without a podium, without a chair. He spoke from his heart. Brothers, what we are facing is not just a traitor. It is a whole world that does not believe that a small country like ours can stand on its own without bowing to foreign money and power. He paused, letting the words sink in. But I believe, he continued, his voice heavy, I believe in the heart of this country. I believe in every drop of sweat, every drop of blood that we have shed. And I swear I will not let anyone from within or without destroy that. No one spoke, but in their eyes, determination burned like unquenchable flames. Ibrahim continued, this time in a firmer voice. We will not play by their rules. We will not respond with fear. We will fight back with purity, with unity, and with strong action. His plan was simple but bold. First, he ordered a domestic propaganda campaign, clarifying the truth about Souleymane's arrest, not a political purge, but a defense of national sovereignty. He personally appeared on national television, without flowery language, without prepared documents, just a leader talking to the people like comrades in arms. They want us to believe that we are weak. But no, we are not. We just need to look at ourselves, believe in ourselves. Next, Ibrahim increased his inspection trips to the countryside, where people were vulnerable to rumors. He did not travel in a large convoy. He walked into each village, shook hands with each farmer, sat drinking tea under the thatched roof, and listened to their stories. With that physical presence, he gradually extinguished the fire of suspicion. At the same time, in the dark, those who still harbored the intention of betraying were also quickly and neatly screened and eliminated quietly, but effectively. Gradually, over those days, the people began to see the truth. That Ibrahim was not a power-hungry leader, but a true warrior, ready to face the storm for their soil. However, Ibrahim knew this was only the beginning. The darkness had not retreated. The real enemies, the forces that never wanted to see a free Africa, were still there, waiting, lurking. And Ibrahim, with his iron heart, prepared for the next battle. A battle in which, this time, there would be no room for compromise. Shortly after Ibrahim tightened his grip on power and reasserted his authority, the underground forces outside realized that the usual dirty tricks would not be enough to subdue him. And so, they played their final card. A plot was woven, more sophisticated than any previous attack. Foreign forces, through their agents, secretly pumped money into separatist groups in the border provinces. A series of small-scale disturbances broke out, seemingly spontaneous, but in fact were all staged to create a pretext for international intervention. At the same time, a series of major media organizations simultaneously released fake news, denouncing Ibrahim for suppressing freedom and clinging to power. Emergency meetings were held at the United Nations, with deceitful words about human rights and democracy. They did not need the truth. They only needed a reason. In the dark, a secret foreign commando team was ordered to prepare to land under the name of humanitarian rescue. Everything was meticulously calculated. They believed that if they just caused enough chaos, if they just made the people suspicious, if they just topple Ibrahim, everything would collapse like a sandcastle. But they misjudged one thing. They did not understand that Ibrahim was not fighting for a throne. He was fighting for an ideal, the ideal of freedom, of national pride, of an Africa no longer dictated by greedy foreign hands. On the eve of the intervention, while most people were still asleep, Ibrahim had top-secret information in his hands. Thanks to a small but loyal intelligence network, he knew every plan, every move of the enemy. And he decided to strike back immediately. Not with a military show, not with empty statements, but with the truth. Just before dawn, Ibrahim appeared live on national television. No script, no fancy effects, just him, a simple soldier standing before the entire nation. His eyes looked straight into the lens. That gaze, steady, fearless, without hatred, touched the hearts of millions. "My brothers, my sisters," he began, his voice echoing in the absolute silence. "They are coming, not to help us, not to defend our freedom, but to take away what we have built with our sweat and blood." He laid out the whole dark plan, presenting concrete evidence, secret documents, leaked recordings, undeniable images. He did not call for hatred. He called for patriotism. "When they come," he said, his voice dropping, "they will find a people who do not kneel." Across the country, from the poor slums on the outskirts of Ouagadougou to the most remote villages, people hugged each other and cried with emotion. They no longer doubted. They knew who was truly on their side. The tide of emotion was strong. The people organized peaceful marches, holding high the Burkina Faso flag, singing songs of freedom and courage. Hundreds of thousands poured into the main squares and main roads, empty-handed but with burning hearts, blocking any intervention with their bodies and their spirit of solidarity. When foreign helicopters circled overhead, they did not see a chaotic country in need of help. They saw a sea of people, standing tall, holding hands, unafraid. In the face of such a sight, the invaders could not strike. Not a single bullet was fired. Not a single step of invasion was taken. They had to retreat in silence and humiliation. And in that victory, Ibrahim Traoré did not stand alone on the podium. He joined the crowd like an ordinary citizen. He held the hands of the elderly, hugged the children, cried with those who had lost their loved ones in previous wars. Tears fell not because of pain, but because a dream had been kept alive. The dream of a free Burkina Faso, standing tall in the world. In the hearts of the people, the name Ibrahim Traoré was no longer just the name of a president. It became a symbol of courage, a symbol of indomitability, a symbol of a new Africa where children would grow up without bowing their heads to contempt and oppression. And so, in the red light of the sunset, as the national flag fluttered above the presidential palace, Ibrahim stood there, not as a lone victor, but as the most loyal son of his motherland, who swore, "I will not let this fatherland fall." That oath today is engraved deep into the earth, into the hearts of every citizen, like an immortal declaration for future generations.